What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for tuning in. Let's talk about the games that are coming out this May. Well, that's at least my opinion, because depending on who you ask, apparently we're getting ready to have some kind of a proverbial drought. I don't know. Now, don't get me wrong, the games that are going to be talked about today are not your knock your socks off blockbusters, but some of them in their own rights were when they first came out, which brings us to our first game. Or shall I say, first games. The original Mass Effect trilogy honestly needs no introduction because this game, or games, made the Xbox 360 generation what it is. Now, for the first time ever, after much demanding, I even signed a couple waivers myself online demanding that BioWare create this trilogy. BioWare themselves even released a statement online saying, "Thanks for requesting this so much that you practically willed it into existence. It means a lot." And you can see the amount of excitement that the BioWare team has that they are going to be able to deliver this all-included package for the first 3 games of the Mass Effect franchise. Not only are you going to get the first 3 games, but you're also going to get all DLC associated with them, and in my opinion, BioWare made some really damn decent DLC back in the Xbox 360 era. But that's not all we're getting as well. All 3 games have been reworked, the first game though having a massive overhaul. BioWare admits that the first game plays fundamentally different than the other 2 games. They wanted to make changes to improve the game and make it more up to date, but they also wanted to keep the style of gameplay that it created alive. Big example, in the first game you still have an overheat meter, where in the other 2 games you have to collect thermal clips to reload your gun. The team over at BioWare reworked combat so that way it was more snappy and responsive, just like it was in the second and third game. The inventory in the first game was overhauled, the Mako was overhauled, there was even a boost added to the Mako to make it more easy to traverse around planets. Let us not forget though the big thing, and that is the visual improvements of the 3 games. The team over at BioWare has been using an AI to help clean up the game and make it look more appealing, but they've also been wanting to give it a more updated look by adding stuff today that we see in 4K games. The really big improvements though, I think are going to go completely unnoticed. Aside from fixing a multitude of bugs across all 3 games, we're going to see significant boosts in performance and shorter loading times. Today's advancements in hard drives have totally changed the way the first game plays. In a recent demo, I witnessed an elevator ride that was 3/4 of the time shorter than it was in the original game. And that's if you even wanted to watch it at all. There was an icon that popped up for you to skip the elevator ride altogether. Now BioWare was able to go in and remodel the environments and knock down a few walls. No, really, they did knock down a few walls. There was a few walls that were put in the original game that were done deliberately so that way the hard drive didn't have to render the entire environment at one time. Now with them gone, BioWare designers agree that the environments are more pleasing to look at. You can find BioWare's notes on all their improvements across all 3 games in the link in the description below. And for those just as excited as I am, we can look forward to the Mass Effect Legendary Edition coming out this May 14th. Next up is a game that has been strangely intriguing since the first time we saw it. The game BioMutant seems to fully captivate anybody who finds out about it. Originally fully revealed on August 21st, 2017, the game's development has remained stoically quiet. Aside from a handful of developer interviews and gameplay videos, Experiment 101 has done a good job of not wanting to prematurely announce the release date for BioMutant. They've kept their cards so close to their chest that some people even thought this game was cancelled. But what exactly is BioMutant? Well, for starters, it's described as Kung Fu meets Fable. It is going to be a completely unique open-world RPG full of crafting, exploring, you name it, it's got it. Cute, fuzzy, angry-looking creatures? Check. Customizable looks, skills, and attributes? That's right over here. Kung Fu style combat with Wung Fu upgraded finishers, all mixed with a little bit of swordplay and gunplay, crafting materials to upgrade your weapons and armor, and also create equipment to help get you to different areas of the map. I've read once you've made it past the intro that you can pretty much go anywhere and do anything from the start of the game, other than being hindered by the lack of equipment, but you'll also have a great time traversing the environment through multiple vehicles that will be available through the game. Speaking of the environment, there will be certain parts of the environment that will cause your character to mutate, hence the name BioMutant. These mutations are all going to be determined by how you initially set your character up at the beginning of the game. Based on your character's DNA and genetics, you will receive abilities that will alter the gameplay. These abilities will help truly flesh out a one-of-a-kind customized character specifically to how you play the game. I've read that some of the developers over at Experiment 101 are actually from Avalanche Studios and have had a little bit of a background in creating open-world games like Just Cause. The story that they've created for us in BioMutant revolves around a global disaster that is affecting the Tree of Life. An oil-like poison has seeped into the Tree of Life's 5 main roots that are guarded by bosses. You will have to craft equipment and learn kung fu styles just to survive and explore this world. Here you will find 6 main tribes that populate the environment, 3 that want to save it, and 3 that just care about themselves. Depending on how you play the game and the friends you make are going to affect the outcome of the game. It has multiple endings, and you won't just be able to be buddy-buddy with everyone. The game's karma system is going to make you make decisions that are going to affect one tribe or the other. You're gonna make enemies. If you pre-order the game now, you're going to get access to the mercenary class, which allows you to play as the samurai straight from the start. BioMutant and its unique concept will be hitting your living room on May 25th. Our next game involves some fuzzy 4-legged creatures, but they are in no way, shape, or form our friends. Capcom, and once again using the T-Virus, have resurrected the Resident Evil franchise by continuing what they started with Ethan Winters in Resident Evil 7 by giving us Resident Evil 8 Village. Capcom decided in building Resident Evil 8 off the concept that in Resident Evil 7, at the end of the game, someone lived. So sorry to those who got the other ending. Resident Evil 8 takes place a few years after the events in Part 7, where you and Mia have now had a child and are trying to live happily ever after. But in a brutal twist of the story, somehow Chris Redfield shows up, kills Mia, takes your kid, and leaves Ian Winters in the bloodbath. This obviously causes Ian to want to rescue his daughter, and in his adventures finds himself at the castle owned by Dimitrescu, a crazy, unusual vampire-esque woman who happens to look like she's 100 foot tall. She also happens to share her home with her 3 daughters, who can somehow turn themselves into a swarm of bugs that can get under your skin. Literally. But these aren't the only characters that are going to be showing up in this world, as Dimitrescu's brother is also going around causing his own trouble, and Capcom is once again reintroducing the idea of a merchant in a character called the Duke. The Duke is going to play a much larger role than just the merchant. In Resident Evil Village, you are going to be able to hunt animals and collect resources, in which you will take back to the Duke for him to cook into character buffs. There is a huge trade-off though for hunting in Resident Evil Village, as you will be wasting precious ammo. With a hunting mechanic being included in the game, you can only wonder how big this game is going to be. Well, Capcom has come out and let everybody know that this is going to be one of the largest, most vertical Resident Evil games ever made. I say large because it's just more than the dramatic exterior and impressive nature of the castle. The castle sits perched on a hill right above a village. Here you will find home to some of the game's characters and an even more expansive environment for the game's new enemy types to run around and chase you in. Because of the game's new enemy type though, they had to make the game also largely vertical. They are now bringing lichens into the game to add a new atmosphere of intensity. And just for those who aren't clear, lichens are werewolves. Capcom wanted to increase the intensity of the game and create faster movement. So in doing this, they've created the lichens, a creature that can not only move up and down in the world, but they are also capable of hunting solo or in packs and hiding. They wanted to do this so a person could not get totally comfortable, as the lichens will be able to scale any surface and get to pretty much anywhere you're going to try to hide. For those who buy the game, backed by popular demand, you're going to get a mercenary mode and RE reverse. Capcom is going to once again try to do multiplayer involving the Resident Evil franchise. You'll be able to explore Resident Evil Village and all its crazy dark secrets on May 7th. Speaking of games that like to introduce our canine friends, let's talk about one that had me sold at the mention of a fully upgradable Cyber Mastiff. Stratum on Studio and Focus Interactive are dipping into the Warhammer franchise and giving us Necromunda Hired Gun. So if any of you have ever played any of the Warhammer 40k games or Warhammer Space Marine, you understand that there's this galactic army out there that's dressed raging war. Well, like every good army, you need weapons and armor, and hence the planet Necromunda. On the planet, you will find a main hive city that is made of innumerable gun factories to feed the Imperium of Man. These factories produce a good amount of weaponry that's going to help produce a lot of the loot in the game, but they also do a good job of polluting the world that you're in. All this weapon manufacturing has led to a few individuals to kind of make themselves at home in what is known as the Underhive. Down here, you will find the game's factions and gangs holding it down in rigged up fortresses, chem labs, fighting pits, and wrecked spacecrafts. This is where you come in, because these individuals need people eliminated, info obtained, and in Necromunda, business is good. You find yourself taking on the role as an upgradable bounty hunter, complete with a fully upgradable Cyber Mastiff that seems to have a little bit of an aggressive appetite. You're gonna need your new furry best friend to help you get through the gangs that are protecting the people that you're trying to hunt down. Remember, there's a little bit of arcane fantasy style to this game. Some of the characters and bosses have done things to themselves to appear as if they have powers. So you're going to need all the help you can get from your companion and acquire all the upgrades you can for the both of you. Your bounties will take you through environments of ancient machinery that power the furnaces that pump out all the arcane weapons. You'll be dodging constant environmental hazards like trains loaded with big amounts of cargo that are traveling through the multiple gang zones. In the middle of this apocalyptic wasteland, you'll find Martyr's End, an oasis filled with multiple characters that will help you conduct your business. Whether you're looking for a little bit of healing, employment, equipment, or even talking to the barkeep for information, Martyr's End is your place. If you ask me, this game has been flying totally under the radar, and I am really looking forward to checking it out once it's available. The technical release date for Necromunda Hired Gun is June 1st, but in certain situations you will be able to get the game on May 31st. You ask me, it's a pretty nice cap off to an already stacked month. Well guys, that just about wraps it up for my lineup on just how stacked May is. These 4 titles have definitely caught my eye, and I'm looking forward to spending a lot of time playing them. But if you honestly think about it, the Mass Effect Trilogy represents its own mountain in itself, as there is 3 games and 40 DLCs wrapped up inside it. Be sure down in the comments section to tell me how excited you are for the games listed here, or maybe some games that I may have missed. I don't know about you guys, but in the month of May, my wallet is going to get emptier and my backlog longer. But you can't deny that there is going to be games, and there is definitely something for everyone. Please be sure to click the subscribe button down below if you'd like to stay in touch with me and the content that I put out. I'm just a small and up-and-coming YouTube channel that respectfully waits to the end of the video to please ask you to click the subscribe button. So here we are once again, all my friends and fam, at the end of the video, and this is where I tell you that I want you to please stay safe, stay positive, and game united out there, and absolutely please be sure to pace yourself for this month coming up. Thanks for watching.